This weekend, the world just discovered Moldova. Satoshi walked onto the Eurovision stage in Vienna and performed Viva Moldova. And suddenly, everyone had the same question. Wait, where is Moldova? What is Moldova? And look, I love that. I genuinely love that because Moldova deserves that moment. And as someone who lived in Moldova for 2 years, this is super exciting for me to hear that people want to know more about Moldova. But here's what I need you to know. What you saw at Eurovision, that's the postcard. What I'm about to show you is the real country, the one that changed how I think about travel entirely. Because I didn't just visit Moldova. I had lived there. I learned Romanian, Russian, I did a little bit of Gagauzia, and I found the places that don't have Instagram hashtags yet. For this video, we're going to go all the way in beyond what you're probably seeing on all of those videos about where to visit Moldova. So what I'm going to talk to you about today isn't a listicle, is not going to be your regular blog video. It's from my own personal experience of living in Moldova. So, hi, let's go. So, of course, we got to start with Chișinău, the capital nobody gives enough credit to. And probably a lot of travel bloggers like to throw shade at because most people land in Chișinău and their first reaction is, this is not what I expected. And that reaction, that's exactly the beginning of a real travel experience. Chișinău is one of the greenest capitals in Europe and also called the quiet capital. There are more parks per capita there than almost any city on the continent. But what makes it genuinely interesting is its tension. Soviet-era architecture right next to tiny, beautiful wine bars, Orthodox churches sharing the block with street art studios, and building something new in real time. So once you're in Chișinău, the central market is mandatory. You gotta go early, buy placenta. These are stuffed pastries that will most likely ruin every pastry for you. And you also get the site of Piața Centrală, which has literally anything that you would want to buy. And the reason you gotta go early is because this is the main shopping center. You still have babushkas coming into Piața Centrală to do their shopping all the way from different villages. And my number one recommendation is just to walk. Feel the energy of the market. Maybe try your own game at haggling and trying new different pastries. The vendors will want to know you, who you are, and why on earth you came to Moldova. And honestly, this is kind of a common trend throughout your entire stay of Moldova. And that just shows you that really, this is an untouched tourist pathway because that conversation, that's already more than most tourists will ever get in other destinations. They want to know about you, meet you, know their country and culture to you. Now, let's go into the thing Moldova is genuinely world-class famous for. Wine, food, and you'll probably be hearing it all the time. Have you been to Cricova or Milestii Mici? Moldova is one of the largest wine producers in the world per capita. And that's not a fun fact. That's a cultural identity and a shocking fact. How Moldova has this title and is still not yet deemed a wine country, I don't know. But the two wineries that you need to understand and will get asked by every local as a foreigner is Cricova and Milestii Mici. Now, Cricova is the one people talk about, over 120 kilometers of underground wine tunnels. You heard that right. You get into a small little golf cart and you drive underground through a city of wine. And you can get the same experience in Milestii Mici. The main difference is that Milestii Mici is in the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest underground wine cellar. Bet you didn't know that one. It's where many famous people have celebrated, from astronauts to world leaders, and still hold their wine collections. And you can select your package for your visit. Do not skip on the food. Mamaliga, sarmale, ziama. They're just a bunch of traditional Moldovan foods that you're not going to want to miss out on. Next number one stop that you'll also be asked about if you're a tourist visiting is Orheiul Vechi. And this one is a little bit of a side quest, and I mean that in the absolute best way possible. It's about an hour from Chișinău, and it's one of the most promoted scenes that you'll see looking at any tourism information about Moldova. There's a monastery carved directly into a limestone cliff above a bend in the Prut River, and monks have lived there on and off since the 13th century. The view from that cliff looks like someone painted it, and in the village below, people are living the same way their grandparents did. Gardens, you'll even see goats everywhere, homemade wine on the porch. And then now this is where I'm going to shake it up a little bit and the typical travel recommendations. Next stop is going to be Gagauzia. Now, this is one that very few people know exists, is just starting to get a little bit of conversations around it. And I think it might be one of the more fascinating places in this country because of that. In southern Moldova, there's an autonomous region called Gagauzia with their own language that is not yet documented. The capital is Comrat, and when you walk through it, the cultural layering is something you can physically feel. You see Cyrillic script on top of old Soviet buildings, Gagauz folk music at the market, a church at almost every corner, and the food is different, a little bit more of a Central Asian influence. But the hospitality is extraordinary. Now, as I mentioned, Moldova's south has more than one hidden story. So go to a place that I think is one of Moldova's best kept secrets for the natural world. Valeni and Slobozia Mare. There are villages in the Orheiul district of Moldova, in the deep south of the country, near the Prut River and borders with Romania. And these are the kind of places that don't have a Wikipedia page worth reading or really any other tourism information out there, which is exactly why I'm telling you about them. Very few locals go there, and even very fewer foreigners go there. This region sits near one of Europe's most important wetland ecosystems, the Lower Prut Biosphere Reserve. Its Slobozia Mare in particular has a kind of preserved rural character that's disappearing almost everywhere else in Eastern Europe. And beyond just going into the Biosphere Reserve, you have the ability to discover different wineries that have different types of grapes or showcase different winemaking methods. You have Tante Masha, which is one of my favorite kind of restaurant homestays in the area, because you will get some amazing traditional Moldovan food with even better host and company. Now that we were just in the south of Moldova, it's time to go up to the north for a completely other different experience of Soroca, the fortress city and the Roma capital of the world, which you probably also didn't know was in Moldova. Soroca sits on the Transnistria River in northern Moldova, and it gives you two completely different experiences in the same afternoon. The first is the Soroca Fortress, a 16th century Genoese and Moldovan masterpiece sitting right on the riverbank. It's one of the best preserved medieval fortresses in the entire region, and almost nobody comes here. The second experience is if you go up the hill. Soroca has the largest Roma community in Moldova and one of the most architecturally extraordinary neighborhoods that you will see. And this is not a joke. You go up the hills and you see mansions that look like castles built by Roma families who made their wealth abroad and brought it home, which is incredible to look at. It looks like someone combined Baroque palaces with a fever dream, honestly. And it genuinely is unlike anything else that I've seen in Moldova. As I go through this, you can see the very different cultural grooves and different sides of Moldovan culture, which is like why have people not visited this country? I don't know. The last city I'm going to give a focus to in this video is Transnistria, also known as Pridnestrovie, a country that doesn't exist. Okay, so let's talk about this place that is going to make some of you pause the video and probably Google it immediately. And it's also one that you've probably, if you've heard of Moldova, seen the most content about. So Moldova has a breakaway region called Transnistria or Pridnestrovie. It's a self-declared republic that has been operating independently since 1990. It is not recognized by any United Nations member state. It has its own currency, its own military, its own passport even, its own flag, and doesn't accept foreigner credit cards, and has different satellites. And it is, in every meaningful sense, a Soviet time capsule. So just there, that's a lot to take in and a lot to be aware of when you're planning your travel here. The capital is Tiraspol. There's several different tanks and monuments around the capital with Lenin statues still standing. But here's what I need to say clearly. Being aware of the context, news, politics of this region is very important. This area is safe for travelers who approach it with awareness and respect. It's not a novelty. It's a community of people living a life shaped by choices that were made from them decades ago or still from ongoing politics. Go with that understanding and it will be one of the most genuinely interesting experiences of your life. Now, I can't do this video without giving a shout out to the city that actually was home for me, Ungheni in Western Moldova, right on the Romanian border. It's a small city, not necessarily a main point for tourism, but it should be. There is a beautiful winery just 20 minutes outside of the city, and the famous Gustav Eiffel Bridge, rumored to have been created from leftover scrap metal from the Eiffel Tower. Kind of random, but I feel like that's just kind of Moldova. and it's amazing. But in addition to that, it has the Prut River, a bunch of cafes. This is like a cafe city. I don't understand how there's so many cafes. One might think you're in New York City, but there's a bunch of different ones to try. And the people who made me feel like Moldova was a home for me. Living in Ungheni is where I learned that travel isn't really about destinations. It's about the version of yourself that shows up when nobody knows who you are yet. And you have to figure out how to belong somewhere new. And that's the whole theme of culture travel. And that's why we put the guidebook down. Moldova is Europe's least visited country. And after Satoshi walked onto that Eurovision stage and said, Viva Moldova to the world, maybe that starts to change. But here's my ask. If you go deeper than just the headline and the main points of Chișinău, Transnistria, Orheiul Vechi, to other cities and villages that aren't widely promoted for tourists. Learn 3 words in Romanian, say them badly, and watch what happens. Because the Moldova that will change you isn't the one that trends on Eurovision night. It's the one that's been waiting quietly this whole time. If you want to keep going deeper into what ethical, immersive travel actually looks like in practice, I want you to come find Put the Guidebook Down podcast. It's in the description, new episodes every week. And check out the rest of our content because we like to go a little bit deeper and off the tourist path. I want to thank you for tuning in to our video. Stay tuned. Thank you, everyone, and Viva Moldova. Viva Moldova!